So today's video, firstly I am starting from a bit of a different location. I am actually at work. I'm a photographer, not like at a day job in an office. It's a bit weird. So I just thought I'd start my intro here because I've already written and everything, but I didn't have time to film it over with Moreno. My yard is literally across the road, so it's very handy to be working here. But today's video, I was just posting some photos on Instagram the other day, and a lot of people were asking how I warmed up Moreno, because obviously he's quite a reactive horse. He's quite spooky, he's quite nervous, he struggles to relax and sometimes he struggles to bend and everything. He's not the most reactive to your leg either. And I have a very specific warm up to get him going the way that he does, and also to build his top line and to get him going very nicely. Well, very nicely in my opinion. Obviously it's not perfect, but I just asked my dad to film some of our clips, and I'll do a little voiceover just talking you through everything. Just to show you how I warm him up, how I do things. If anyone has a horse similar to him, it might give you a bit of a hand. You can try something. It obviously won't work for everyone, it just works for my very spooky little pony. But yeah, that is what this video is. I will stop rambling, and I will enjoy this glorious sunshine at work, and I will get on into the video. Enjoy! So first things first, I do a full lap on both reins in just a really long rein walk. For the sake of the video, I did this like kind of circle thing, this circle with no bend, just to show you the gait that I'm walking towards right now. Moreno is terrified of, so you can't actually see, my dad wasn't just close enough, but you really have to, you know, relax, sit really deep and constantly reassure him and pat his neck and give him a little scratch. I don't know why he's terrified of this gait, he always has been. Even though that was his field for quite a while. I don't understand it, but that's Moreno. So we just go for a little dander round the arena, a full lap on both reins, with his head as low as I can get it really. This day he was not too relaxed. So after we do our little lap or two, I ask him to trot. The trot again is 2 laps, well, a lap on both rein, with his head as low as I can get it and no contact on the rein whatsoever. I don't do any sit and trot or anything either because I like to give his back time to warm up. I know some people go straight into sit and trot, but that's not my cup of tea, and it doesn't really work for Moreno either. So normally at the start my main goal is forwardness. Trying to get him really forward, because then everything kind of falls into place after that. If he's being lazy, it just makes everything a lot more difficult. So while we have the long rein, I'm really pushing him on. I rarely use my whip, but sometimes it is needed to give him a little tap on the bum just to remind him that we do need to actually go somewhere. He can be quite lazy sometimes, as well as spooky, bless him. So you can see just doing a little change of rein here, no contact whatsoever, just letting him have his head. This as well takes a lot of reassurance and just letting him know he's okay and everything isn't scary. He does very well with like voice commands and, you know, oh, you're all right, good boy, good boy. It really does relax him and soothe him a bit. So that's one thing I found definitely works. Also, whenever we're going towards his very scary gait, especially in trot, he does get quite worried. So I found that he gets quite tense through his neck. If I can just stroke the tense part of his neck, it draws his attention to the tension, which then makes him realise this is actually quite uncomfortable, and he does relax. So now we go for another little walk, but I didn't want to film all that because you would get bored. So now I do get a little bit of contact, but I don't actually ask him to go on the bit or anything. I just pick up a little bit of contact to let him know that I'm actually here and we have to go on a ride. I keep my hands nice and wide just to encourage him to lower his head. He has a very, very, very sensitive mouth. So if you steer with your hands, or if you pull him, or if you ask him to stop with your hands, he will not be a happy bunny at all. So I'm just letting him know that I'm here. At this point I try and wrap him around my leg quite a lot, ask for a little bit more bend and a bit more circle rather than a bit more square. We do go off the track a little bit just so he doesn't rely on the wall, which is an issue I found with myself more so than him. We do quite a lot of leg yielding as well. At the start, at this stage, he is quite reluctant to leg yield over. That's just because he isn't fully warmed up, but as we progress, he will move over beautifully. He is an older horse, so warming up does take a little bit longer than it would do for a horse that's more in their prime. He's 19 now, and I would rather have a longer warm up and keep him happy and healthy for longer than rush him and have him hurt himself. So lots of leg yielding, lots of circles and lots of bending. You can see here he is starting to soften a little bit. My main goal is to keep him really soft in my hands. I don't want him to pull, I don't want him to throw his head up, I just want to keep him really soft and working through his back. And a good sign for me is if I'm doing my rise and trot, whenever he's not really working properly, I'm pushing myself up whenever I'm rising, but whenever he does start to use himself the way he should, he pushes me up with his bum more than me having to do the work myself. So I know that's always a good sign for him. As you can see, more circles, more leg yielding, more off the track, just the usual. I don't really ask him for his head at this point. I just don't think there's a point. It would annoy him, and he doesn't feel like he's warmed up enough, so I just let him offer it whenever he's ready, which I have found does work for him, and that's completely okay. I'd rather him offer it when he's ready than force him to. So as you can see, I do quite a lot of trot. I haven't included all the walk breaks because you would be bored, but there is quite a lot of them. So you can see whenever I ask him to walk, Moreno's issue would be he would walk and really fall into the transition and think, okay, I'm done working now. So I have to keep my leg on and make sure I keep my leg on whenever I transition downwards, just so he knows, actually, I'm not done yet. This is still part of my work. And you can see in the walk as well, he does struggle to carry himself in the walk, which does come throughout the ride, you will see. I'll walk him in a straight line and just bend his neck either way, which does really help with him. It just loosens his muscles in his neck a little bit. I do this little figure of 8 thing in the middle of the school because, again, he loves clinging to the wall. He loves staying up at the top of the arena or at the bottom of the arena. So I found doing this little figure 8 type thing and asking him to bend in the middle of the arena actually made him think, oh, I don't have my good old reliable wall to stick to. I actually have to think a little bit here. So I've loved doing this recently. The poles you can see set out weren't actually set out by me. But if there are poles set out, I will take advantage of them and just pop them over a few. Because one thing with Moreno especially, poles are a gift. Poles, something just clicks in his brain. Whenever he goes over a pole, he just thinks, oh, okay, I do actually have to use a bit of muscle here. You can also see I am not snatching at my reins or anything. I keep my hands as still as I possibly can. But Moreno likes to take the bit and try and pull his head down. That's normal for him. He's done it since he was 4. He's 19 now. So to try and get through that, I just push him on loads, give a lot more leg, and try and keep the head up. Oh, got it. Not feeling very well. I feel like I've got a bit of hay fever, like frog in my throat or something. So as you can see here, he's starting to offer a little bit of natural head carriage without me asking. That has just come from establishing a really forward trot at the start. And now we've got the trotting forward and the bending and the circles. We start doing a little bit more complex movements for him. So I like to do a lot of transitions and quite a lot of rein back. As you can see, this one is very messy. We're not great at it on a good day. However, the very first rein back I do with him, he's always quite reluctant. He's like, ugh, but it was so much easier not to use my bum muscles and work through my back. Life was easier that way. So once he, realizes, sit on his bum, use the right muscles, he just goes like butter in your hands. We do struggle to bend certain directions, but that is a work in progress. We are working on the bend. The rein back really, really helps, I find. I also think lots of transitions, but not just walk to trot. I also like to do halt to trot and, walk to canter. That really helps him as well. You're probably bored out of your mind seeing me trot round in circles, but you just need to see how much trot I do before I even ask for canter. I also like to kind of go between having contact and giving him a little bit more rein, just so then I can see, is he actually holding himself by himself, or are my hands doing a bit too much work? So this is the first canter. I always do a full lap of canter out of the saddle, which is quite difficult in a dressage saddle, but I try my best. This was actually advised by a lady I had a lesson off. She had an older horse herself, and she just said, for the warm-up, get off their back as much as possible, and it really will do them the world of good. So this, I find, it just lets him move freely without me sitting like a sack of potatoes on his back. I canter him round, and then voice commands. He comes back to trot whenever I ask, and then back to walk whenever I ask. And then I'll pick him back up into trot after a little walk and ask him to canter normally. So again, really wide hands. My hands I do bring them up and bring them closer together as the ride goes on, but I keep them nice and wide so that he can look for the bit and look for the contact himself. Again, so many circles trying to get him to bend. Lots of transitions in the canter. I do lots of canter to trot and trot to canter. Here you can see a little walk to canter, although it was not our finest. It was very, very warm this day, bless Moreno. He did try very hard. I actually cut this schooling session very short because it was something like 22 degrees and we were both going to melt. So here I'm just using the poles as a little bit of a guideline for a circle, really asking him to bend. You can see he doesn't offer his head straight away in the canter. That's where all the bending and the transitions come in. But again, the heat did not help. We are not in a warm country, so having a very random 22-degree heat wave was a bit strange. So you can see here, sometimes whenever I bring him back from canter to trot, he likes to run a little bit, which that's not ideal. We are working on it. It happens a lot less than it used to, but it still happens, and that's just something you have to work on. You can see here again, I'm really wrapping him around my leg and asking him to bend. You can see he does struggle a little bit. I would actually, on my circles, you can't really tell in the videos, in both trot and canter, I would do a lot of leg yielding in and leg yielding out on my circles, just to make sure he's moving under himself and everything, and he's all fluid and everything can move freely. Again, I love a good walk to canter transition. I absolutely adore them. I do a lot of canter on one rein, and then obviously I keep it equal on both reins. But I feel I'll do a lot of canter to warm him up, and then once I feel like he is warmed up, then I'll go on to the other rein. I don't do the same rein every day. I just chop and change. Whenever he feels comfortable one way, I'll switch to the other way. It just works for him, really. As you can see, taking advantage of my poles here that someone had very kindly set out and left out. I do like to keep the circles quite big to start with. Again, just so he's nice and what's the word I'm looking for? Just so he's not, going too tight too soon, because I'm sure that wouldn't be very comfortable for him. And then throughout the ride, I will work to bring them shorter or push to bring them bigger, whatever I feel is suitable at that time. Another thing I actually forgot to mention, obviously Moreno is a very reactive little horse. He does get quite stressed if anyone leads a horse past the arena, or if he hears hoofbeats, if he sees a car a few fields over, anything like that, he will just have a bit of a meltdown. So things I've learned with him, if I see someone coming or something that would scare him, if he's moving sidewards, he can't do anything. Now, this is something I learned from an instructor that actually helped break him in. So if I see something, you know, a car, a horse box, something that would scare him, if I leg yield him or put him on a circle and he does bolt or whatever, he finds it harder to bolt while he's leg yielding or while he is on a circle, or he can't really go as far. So that's something I found really helps, and it also kind of, he's more focused on me rather than just trotting around aimlessly. And then whenever he's more focused on me, he's less likely to spook or to misbehave. So you can see there that canter was 100 million miles better than the other ones. The rein back again is getting a lot better. He's a lot more willing to go backwards whenever I ask. The canter, I always do a lot of walk to canter, like a ridiculous amount of walk to canter, because it's just what works for him. Also with my rein back, I try and use my hands as little as possible. So I don't mind if I'm halfway through and he just stops and I have to ask him a little bit more to go back a few more steps. I don't mind. We're not really at that level of dressage where I need my rein backs to be perfect. But you can just see he's so much more soft in my hand. His head is right down. He's really stretching. His transitions, he's so much more off my leg, even in the heat. We had a real issue where he wouldn't go off my leg whatsoever after he came back into work after his accident. So I just had to back up my leg with a very small little tap with the schooling whip, and he got the gist so quickly. And you can also see he's really using his bum now. I don't know if you can see it. I know I felt it, so that's what's making me say that. This is the rein he struggles on the most, with his bending and everything. So you can see the head does come up and then drops again, but that's all right. That's because I'm asking him to bend, which he does struggle with more on this rein. So I don't mind him showing that it's difficult, because I know it is difficult for him. You can see the sweat on him at this point. So this is where I was starting to, realise it was going to have to be quite a short schooling session. I know this video was originally meant to be a warm-up. Moreno is actually quite fit, believe it or not. So I would normally do the warm-up and then go into whatever I wanted to do, whether it be lateral work, poles, etc, etc. But in this case, I just made the warm-up a little bit longer because he was a bit off his game in the heat. So I just made the warm-up a little bit longer and then left it at that. I was just happy that he was willing to work for me. Loads of horses at the yard would just plant their feet and say, "Not in this heat, mum, no chance." Whereas Moreno was like, "Right, I'll give it a go if you give me a nice bath after," which he definitely did get. You can see here, you can just about see that I'm leg yielding out of the circle a little bit. This was our last canter, I'm pretty sure. And I was really happy with the improvement of his bend. So I just bring him back to trot and drop my reins pretty much completely, letting him stretch. I do a lap of trot on both reins and then a good few laps of walk to cool him off. As you can see, he's a very good boy. So I'm now back home. I literally could not do another intro or outro with my hair being so dirty and sweaty, because this seems to happen every time I ride. So got home, washed my hair and put on my brand new jammies that were, look how cute these are, Primark's finest. Anyway, had to wash my hair because I wouldn't do that to you, couldn't do it. But I do hope you enjoyed this little bit of a different video. It's just because I've been getting so many comments on Instagram and everything, and I thought I would show you what it was like, really. Obviously Moreno was not very spooky this day. He just gets a little bit tense through his neck going towards that gate. I don't know why. If I had have picked a day that was windy or anything, that would have been better to demonstrate how bad he gets, but then I don't really know. I don't really know if I would want that videoed, because it's just a lot of me holding on and hoping for the best, and then my daddy usually can't bring himself to watch. So tried to do it on a day where he was calm, and then I still talk you through what I would do, but I hope it worked. I hope you understand where I was coming from. if you really do want to see a bit of our winter disasters where I nearly get dumped every 5 seconds, let me know, because if you really want it, I'll do it. My poor dad might need to like blindfold himself while videoing, he might not be able to take it. But yeah, it is something I can do if you want it. I'm aware loads of my videos recently have been like jumping videos, which obviously I only jump in once a week at max, but they seem to be more interesting and they're more fun to make, and they're easier to kind of, I like different jumping ideas, so I find it quite easy to make little videos out of them, because I love my weird jumping exercises. I think it really helps Moreno as well. Obviously I'm a flatwork freak, hence the YouTube name. But yeah, no, I just thought I would try something a little bit different today, just to split up all the jumping vlogs. I'm not really sure what next week's video is going to be just yet. I haven't really got that far, but no, I'll probably be back to a jumping video, to be honest. But yeah, that is all for this week's video. Thank you so much for watching. I do really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you next week for another video. Bye!